The woman should have been dead. Half buried in snow, frozen nearly solid, she had no pulse Elias could feel. Yet somehow, she was still breathing. He carried her through the storm and brought her back to his cabin. For 3 days, she drifted between life and death. Then she finally opened her eyes and begged him not to tell anyone she was there. The next morning, armed strangers knocked on his door. A brutal winter storm sweeps across the mountains, isolating a rugged mountain man named Elias Carter in his remote cabin. Known by nearby settlers as a quiet trapper who avoids trouble, Elias spends his days hunting, gathering firewood, and surviving the unforgiving wilderness. One evening, while checking his trapline during a blizzard, Elias discovers something shocking. A young woman half buried beneath the snow near a frozen creek. She is unconscious, suffering from severe exposure, and appears to have wandered far from any settlement. Despite knowing strangers often bring danger, Elias carries her back to his cabin. Through the night, he struggles to keep her alive. He warms her by the fire, wraps her in blankets, and carefully nurses her through a dangerous fever. When she finally awakens, she introduces herself as Clara Whitmore. But her fear is immediate and obvious. She refuses to explain how she ended up in the woods and becomes terrified whenever she hears sounds outside. Over the following days, Clara slowly regains her strength. A fragile friendship forms between them. Elias notices signs that she is hiding something: bruises on her wrists, nightmares that wake her screaming, and constant fear whenever anyone is mentioned. As trust develops, Clara reveals only part of the truth. She was fleeing men who intended to force her into something she could not accept. However, before she can explain fully, trouble arrives. 3 armed riders appear at Elias's cabin, claiming to be searching for a missing woman. They present themselves as concerned relatives and demand to know if he has seen her. Clara's reaction tells Elias everything. She is terrified of them. Elias lies and sends the men away, but he realizes the danger has only begun. The riders promise to return, Clara finally confessing that these men are not rescuers, they are hunters. After the riders leave, Elias demands the complete truth. Clara reluctantly reveals that she is the daughter of a wealthy businessman from a distant town. Following her father's mysterious death, powerful associates attempted to force her into signing documents that would transfer ownership of valuable land and mining rights. When she refused, she discovered evidence suggesting her father may have been murdered. The men searching for her work for the same people responsible for his death. Clara escaped before the documents could be signed, and fled into the wilderness, hoping to reach a federal marshal in another territory. The blizzard nearly killed her before Elias found her. Elias initially wants nothing to do with the conflict. He has spent years avoiding civilization after losing his family during a violent land dispute. However, Clara's story begins reopening wounds from his own past. Together they examine the belongings Clara carried into the woods. Hidden inside a damaged leather satchel are letters, maps, and coded documents that could expose a large criminal operation involving stolen land claims, corruption, and murder. Meanwhile, the men searching for Clara establish camp nearby. Their leader, Victor Graves, becomes suspicious of Elias's behavior and begins questioning local settlers. Victor learns that Elias has been helping someone. The search intensifies. Clara and Elias realize remaining in the cabin will eventually get them both killed. They must leave before the hunters surround them. Victor discovering tracks leading directly toward Elias's property. Knowing they have little time, Elias and Clara abandon the cabin before dawn. Carrying only essential supplies, they begin a dangerous journey through snow-covered mountains toward a distant town where Clara hopes to find legal protection. The wilderness itself becomes a major enemy. They face blinding storms, frozen rivers, wolf encounters, and dwindling supplies. Each obstacle forces them to rely on one another more deeply. During the journey, Clara learns more about Elias's tragic past. Years earlier, powerful landowners manipulated local authorities to seize property from struggling settlers. Elias's wife and young daughter were caught in the violence that followed. Ever since, he has chosen isolation over involvement. Clara begins to understand why he hesitated to help her. At the same time, Elias sees Clara's courage beneath her fear. Despite everything she has suffered, she refuses to surrender evidence that could expose dangerous criminals. Meanwhile, Victor and his men pursue relentlessly. Their knowledge of the terrain allows them to close the distance. Several tense near captures occur. At one abandoned trapper's shelter, Elias narrowly avoids an ambush. Later, Clara overhears conversations, revealing that Victor has orders not simply to capture her, but to eliminate her permanently. As their bond grows, romantic feelings begin developing between them, though neither speaks openly about it. They reach an isolated mountain pass, only to discover Victor's men waiting ahead. Trapped between steep cliffs and armed pursuers, Elias and Clara face their greatest challenge yet. A deadly confrontation erupts across the snow-covered pass. Using his deep knowledge of the mountains, Elias creates diversions and guides Clara through hidden routes known only to experienced trappers. The chase turns into a battle of survival. Avalanches threaten both sides. Ice collapses beneath riders. Several of Victor's men are lost to the unforgiving terrain. Despite their efforts, Clara and Elias become separated during a violent snowslide. For the first time since meeting, they must survive alone. Clara discovers inner strength she never knew she possessed. Forced to navigate dangerous wilderness independently, she proves she is no longer the frightened woman Elias rescued. Meanwhile, Elias desperately searches for her while evading hunters. Victor captures one of Clara's possessions during the chaos, and finally gains access to part of the evidence she carries. He realizes the documents are even more damaging than expected. Now his employers become directly involved. Additional men are sent to silence everyone connected to the case. Clara reaches a remote settlement and learns shocking news. One of the most respected men in the region is secretly connected to her father's death. Clara reaches the settlement, believing she has found safety. Instead, she discovers corruption extends far beyond what she imagined. Local officials are compromised. Business leaders have been bribed. Even law enforcement cannot be trusted. Elias eventually reunites with her after surviving numerous dangers. Together, they attempt to identify who can still be trusted. A retired judge named Samuel Harlan becomes an unlikely ally after reviewing Clara's evidence. He confirms that the documents expose a criminal network controlling land, mining operations, transportation routes, and political offices. The conspiracy reaches across multiple territories. Victor arrives shortly afterward, turning the town into a dangerous battlefield of deception. Rumors spread. Some citizens support Clara. Others fear retaliation. Tensions escalate as mysterious attacks begin targeting anyone willing to help them. Meanwhile, Clara uncovers a hidden journal left by her father before his death. The journal contains detailed records proving exactly who ordered the murders and thefts. The information could destroy powerful men. Unfortunately, Victor learns about the journal, Clara being kidnapped from the town, forcing Elias into a desperate rescue mission. Clara is taken to an abandoned mining complex hidden deep within the mountains. Victor intends to recover the remaining evidence and eliminate all loose ends before authorities can intervene. Elias refuses to abandon her. Using skills developed through years of wilderness survival, he infiltrates the mining complex. Along the way, he gains unexpected allies among workers who have also suffered under the corruption exposed by Clara's documents. Inside the mine, Clara demonstrates remarkable courage. Rather than surrendering the evidence, she secretly organizes resistance among captives held by Victor's employers. A dramatic confrontation unfolds underground. Long-buried secrets emerge. The true mastermind behind the conspiracy is revealed. A prominent businessman who partnered with Clara's father before orchestrating his murder and stealing his assets. Evidence hidden within the mine confirms every accusation. Gunfights, cave-ins, and desperate escapes follow as both sides fight for survival. Elias finally reaches Clara. Together, they recover the complete collection of evidence. Victor is defeated, but refuses to reveal the full truth before escaping into the mountains. Authorities beginning to close in, while the mastermind prepares one final move. Clara and Elias race to deliver evidence to federal authorities before the conspiracy can destroy it. The mastermind launches a final campaign to silence witnesses and recover the documents. A massive winter storm creates the backdrop for the story's climactic confrontation. Victor returns for one last pursuit, leading to a dramatic showdown in the same wilderness where Clara was first found frozen in the snow. This time, however, she is no helpless victim. Clara confronts the men who hunted her and exposes their crimes publicly. Authorities arrive with proof gathered from multiple witnesses, the journal, financial records, and testimony from former accomplices. The conspiracy collapses. The mastermind is arrested. Victor finally faces consequences for his actions. As spring approaches, the mountains begin to thaw. Clara gains control of her father's rightful estate and uses it to help families harmed by corruption. Elias is offered rewards and recognition, but chooses a simpler path. Yet he no longer wishes to live alone. Clara returning to the cabin where her life was saved. What began as a rescue in a snowstorm has transformed both of their lives. Together they look toward a future built on trust, healing, and hope, while the mountains that once separated them now become the place they call home.